And welcome, Internet World. I know I have no internet connection right now, so this video will be uploaded when we get internet back. Um, see if I can get a better angle here. This is a video. This is a question video or video question video question. I'm asking about. I'm asking a question. Okay. I was watching an interview with Brett Weinstein and his brother, and I forget his brother's name. It was an interview by Dave Rubin, and turns out they have learning disabilities. And I was like, wow. I mean, these are two really intelligent men, and they have learning disabilities. And one thing, if I remember correctly, that they said was they were not going to allow the schools or the system to define them. So they did whatever it was they had to do to become as well educated as they are. And so what I'm doing is asking a question. What can I do? What can I do? This also may get into bipolar disorder. My brain races. Okay, it's constantly going. I cannot slow it down. And I'm always thinking about stuff. I'm good at Jeopardy. I'm really good at Trivial Pursuit. Okay, of course, I've played Trivial Pursuit enough times that I know a lot of the answers. And I know on at least one answer, they get it wrong, and I know the correct answer. And that is, it is Mohandas K. Gandhi, not Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma was his title, not his name. I learned that when Trivial Pursuit first came out. Before I played Trivial Pursuit, I knew the answer to that because I read his autobiography. Right now, this is one of the books I'm trying to read. Hitler's Beneficiaries. It deals with the fact that, and this is by a German historian, it deals with the fact that Nazism was in fact socialism. I mean, that people don't want to acknowledge that is beyond me, although some people just don't know that. But anyway, I won't get into that subject too much. I won't get into that subject. Um, Look, I have two cousins that teach at prestigious universities. One is a university where I don't want to call him my hero, but a man that I admire is on the faculty. Or on the faculty of, I don't see, my English is horrible. Now, I used to make the excuse that English is not my native language. But that's really no excuse because I've been speaking English from a very early age. So what do you do? What if you have a learning disability? And how do you get this stuff to stick? How do you? It's not that I cannot understand stuff because I went to college. I don't have the academics for college, but I went to college. I loved it for more reasons than one. One, for the first time in my life, I was around people who hungered for knowledge, and I liked the interaction that I had with people. The thing is, I really don't like being around people. Okay. Back then, it was okay. I was a lot younger. I was older than most of the other kids because I was in my late 20s, early 30s when I started college. I was politically active. my politics have definitely changed. Actually, many of the things I believed in then, I still believe in. I just cannot support that particular political party any longer. If they left me, I didn't leave them. But how do you do this? How do you, like, my spelling is horrendous. Okay, when I've taken various tests, my IQ comes out roughly around average. The thing is, I can take an IQ test and I can have a horrible score. I can take it 2 or 3 years later and I can have a slightly above, well, it's still within the average range, but it's slightly over 100. Yet I cannot spell. My spelling test at a third grade level. My reading test at or above average. Or not at or above the level it should be. My math, I forget where my math is, but it's higher than my spelling, but barely. Like maybe 2 grade levels higher than my spelling. When it comes to trivia, like I was mentioning, I'm good. I used to be anyway. I mean, a lot has changed. I mean, not a lot has changed. There's much more information out there today. When I was in college, I had a Commodore 64. Okay, that I remember when I was taking remedial English, and I asked the professor. I don't know if she was technically a professor or not, but I don't remember what her title was. I don't think you have many professors teaching remedial English. And there was one lady that taught it. Oh my goodness. She actually stood there and said, if you're in this class, you're stupid. If you're in this class, you're stupid. Can you believe that somebody would actually say that? There were people in remedial English class. There was one girl, she was from Germany. She was auditing the class. Okay? What was she going to do? She was auditing a college level English, essentially a college level English class. I eventually passed remedial 1 and remedial 2. I went to take remedial math. Oh boy, at the school I went to, there were two remedial English classes, 1 and 2, 1301 and 0301 and 0302. Or was it? Yeah, I think that's what it was. Or was it 0300 and 0301? I don't remember. So I went to take remedial math, and mind you, okay, look, my educational background and my language. I started to mention. Mentioned that my English is not my native language. Spanish is my native language. Spanish from Spain, because I am from Spain, but I didn't live there very long. My parents lived there longer than I did. Then we moved to Germany. So in Germany it was German and Serbo-Croatian, because my best friend, his parents were from Yugoslavia. His dad was like my dad. He spoke multiple languages, but his mother never spoke anything but Serbo-Croat. That's all she ever spoke. When we moved to the United States, I primarily at least understood German. My first words were Spanish, haka, and haka was haka and baba. I couldn't say bottle, so I said baba. That's how young I was. I was a baby. Now I guess I was still a toddler when we moved to the United States. And then we moved to Okinawa. So I'm introduced. So on Okinawa, there's Japanese, there's Ryukyu or Okinawan, which I don't understand the differences in the two languages. I do happen to have a cousin who is, maybe two cousins, maybe more than two cousins, who are fluent in Japanese, or as fluent as a non-native speaker can be. Um, and So on Okinawa, I mean, there's a difference between Okinawan and Japanese. To, say, an American who's listening to a Japanese person and an Okinawan person speak their respective languages, supposedly we're not able to pick up the differences, but they notice the differences, and they're not able, supposedly not able to understand each other. I don't know why that is. When, if it sounds exactly the same, maybe, words have different meanings. There's inflection. There are all sorts of reasons but anyway, I mean, my mother spoke Spanish, and we had neighbors in San Antonio de Tejas, San Antonio, Texas, who were from Mexico. And she would speak Spanish to them, but she was speaking continental Spanish. And sometimes they wouldn't understand her, and she wouldn't understand them, but they could figure it out. You could, okay? And there would be a brief exchange, and they would be able to understand what the other one was saying. As my mother told me, because she took Spanish in college, and when she moved to Spain, she had to completely relearn the language. So I guess the Spanish they teach in college in the United States is Mexican Spanish, not continental Spanish. I'm not sure whether term to call it continental Spanish. So, and then we moved to the United States, and it was nothing but English, and I wasn't used to that. Everything was different when we moved to the United States, and I mean everything. So my education background is this. On Okinawa, I went to nursery school, kindergarten, first and second grade. We moved to the United States in February, a week before I turned 8 years old. We arrived in the United States. But see, I wasn't going to school those last few weeks or months on Okinawa. So I didn't have that. And we moved to the United States. They put me, first school I went to is no longer there. I believe there is a school that has that name, but it's now in another location. Where that school was is some other building now. And we lived right on the corner of the playground. And for whatever reason, they put me behind a cubicle and with some toys. I'm like, what's the point in this? And then I got sent to another school. And in that school, it was this. It was this. You have to hold your pencil exactly the right way, and you have to trace you have to write everything exactly. And we'll see, I don't do that. I don't know. Me and rules don't get along. I break rules. To me, if there's a rule, it's meant to be broken. If there's a law, it's meant to be challenged. So I didn't do good in that class, and I became disruptive. And I got sent to another school. And because of my experience on Okinawa with my principal, who I actually have no memory of this particular part, but supposedly he would call me in just to paddle me. It's to say, well, I'm doing this, so next time you get in trouble, this is what's going to happen. So I get sent to this one school, and it was a small school, which was nice, and the principal calls me, and he, looking back on it, he was just introducing himself, but he pulls his paddle out. I took off running. I never went back into that building after that. I thought he was going to whip me, and whip me good. And I never went back to that school. And finally, I got sent to a brand new elementary school. And this all happened pretty quickly. And in that school, I would say at least they tried. I will say at least they tried. Then I went to middle school. Well, in middle school, a lot of abuse issues started coming up, started to bother me, and things did not work out. I became, just to put it lightly, I became a bully, and that's not putting it very lightly, but I became a bully, and I was not in that school for very long. I got expelled, permanently expelled. Now, when I say abuse issues, so we'll go back. So we moved to the United States. Within months, my mother has me sent to Austin State Hospital, or ASH, A-S-H, ASH. And there was all sorts of abuse there. No 8-year-old little boy needs to be in a place like that, unless there's something really, really wrong with them. But for me and 99.9% of those kids, we didn't need to be there. And my home life wasn't great. I will say that. I can say this: my mother never sexually abused me. She never physically abused me. Not her. She didn't do it, but she sure didn't have a problem with other people doing it. That is to say, she sent me to these places. She was a nurse. She was an RN, so she knew what these places were really like, because she had to do her internships or whatever in places. And I'm sure she heard the stories. I don't know if I still have any of them, but I used to have some of her books from nursing school, and those places were bad. And I think I was in 5 different places. I'll name them: Austin State Hospital, Houston International Hospital Adolescent Unit, Edgemead, no, Austin State Hospital, Bel Air General Hospital Psych Unit, which was mixed with children, teens, and adults. Mostly we were teens. I was a very young teen. I was like, I may not even have been a teen. I would have been maybe 11, 12, 13 years old at the most. And then I got sent to HIH, and there was no reason for me getting sent to Austin. There was no reason for me getting sent to Bel Air. Then I got sent to HIH, and that was because of what happened in middle school. And then I got sent to Edgemead, which was in Mineral Wells, Texas. Edgemead was actually, of all the places I was in, that was the best. And we happened to have 2 teachers. They were a husband and wife team. They were great. They did their best to teach us. I remember this one guy, he was older than me. He was doing like pre-algebra or algebra, and I'm like, oh, I get that. I mean, it actually made sense to me when she would explain it to him. I'm like, that makes sense. But then when I was in college, I took remedial math, which was like pre-algebra, and it made sense, but it went way too fast. If it would have gone a lot slower, I could have stayed, but I don't know if I dropped the class. Usually I just quit. I didn't drop, I just quit. Very rarely did I drop a class. I usually just stopped going. But so I had good teachers there. Then I got sent to the Devereaux Foundation in Victoria, Texas. I was there for a total of 4 freaking years. 4 freaking years. I'm still pissed off about that. And the amount of abuse that went on there far exceeded all the previous abuse combined and multiplied many times. And of those 4 years, one school year, I had a math teacher. Now, I won't say her name, but she was fantastic. And I did find her once. I found her when I was still living in Texas. And I phoned her and I got to talk to her. She didn't remember me, but I was kind of quiet in her classroom. I didn't cause trouble. I didn't get up and leave. But she expected us to learn. And she gave us the feedback. She gave, she expected us to learn, and she was never abusive about it. If you needed help, she would help you. And she didn't say, well, this equals that. It was, okay, what do you do with this? And if you do such and such with that, and then you do it with this over here, what does that come out to? She knew how to teach. She definitely knew how to teach me. I went up 1.5 grade levels in one school year with her. Next school year, I went back to that same classroom, totally different teacher. This other teacher, the teacher that came in, she looked like a clown. The way her haircut, her makeup, she looked like a clown. And she thought that a blow dryer was a necessity in life. This is a lady teaching teenagers, and she's telling them that a blow dryer is something you need in life. Shelter, food, water, things like that are necessities. A blow dryer is not a necessity. But that's the caliber of people they tended to hire. Not just as teachers, but as staff. Anyway, so I go back for my final year in high school, and it was a vocational program, so I didn't have any academics. And for the most part, I worked. I'm surprised they didn't fire me. They had more than a few reasons that they could have fired me, but thankfully they didn't, and I graduated, because if I would have quit, I tried to quit more than once, and if I would have quit or been fired, I would not have graduated. So I after the fire, I lost my diploma in the fire, but I contacted my high school, and I got a replacement certificate. I'm proud of that. I may not have had the academics to graduate, but I did it. I finished high school, and a lot of people said I wasn't going to be able to do that, and I did it. And I wound up going to college. So what do you do? What do you do to be able to calm down and, instead of reading 2 or 3 pages out of this book, or 1 page, or part of a paragraph, how do I pick up this guitar? Make me sound like a southern hit, huh? Guitar. How do I pick up the guitar? Because I do enjoy the guitar. I took guitar in college, but I took it twice. The first time I took it, the guitar I bought at a pawn shop, and the neck was warped and it wouldn't keep. I'm like, I can't afford another one. The second time I took it, I don't know why I quit that one, but I think I got my textbook late and I was behind and I couldn't catch up. But I took ASL, American Sign Language. I took ASL 1, 2, 3, and 4. I was making A's and B's in ASL. Me making A's and B's. So I was good at that. I think because it was physical, because but I learned my manual alphabet when I was in Austin, actually, believe it or not, because the deaf school, state school for the deaf, was down down the road, and for some reason in the summer, if the kids had to do like testing or something, they would put them there. And so I learned my manual alphabet. I learned enough that I was communicating with the other kids. So, um, you know, I'm not good at woodworking. I'm not good at any sort of shop. And that's because of the way I was brought up. I was discouraged from doing anything manly, um, which was wrong. It was wrong. I won't say who that was. It was not my dad who my dad would have wanted me to do that, because my dad was great at that kind of stuff, and I loved watching him do it and helping him. But my parents divorced when I was very young. Actually, my mother divorced my dad. But so what do you do? How do you get your freaking brain to stop racing? How do you take all this information in and analyze it and work with it and deal with it? How do you do that? Okay, like I said, I have an average IQ. Even though I can take an IQ test one day and it'll give one score, take it another day and it'll be a significantly different score. So I don't know. I know this has become a very long video, and I'm sorry if I'm boring you. I'm sorry if I'm in any way repetitive or if I've provided non-necessary information, but I'm trying to get out the information that a person needs. I cannot afford to go to some learning specialist. I don't have money for that. I'm on disability. I don't like being on disability, but I am. I take medicine for the bipolar, but nothing has ever stopped the racing thoughts, ever. And I've been on a lot of different medicine. I do enjoy my cannabis, but I don't buy it every month. And when I smoke it, I tend to keep smoking it, and I just sit here, but all I do is sit here. But see, I don't have internet right now, and when we do have internet, I can have a video going. I can be playing a game. I can have 2 or 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 15 windows open. I go from one to the other to the other to the next and back and forth. So it's interactive. I like that interactiveness. It's not that I really communicate a whole lot with people, because I really don't like dealing with people. I'm not a people person. I like historical reenacting. I was a history major, if you're wondering what my major was. I enjoy history. I always have enjoyed history. Even when I was a young boy, I enjoyed history. I don't have it here in front of me, but I have a flintlock rifle. It's actually, somebody's actually building it for me, because like I said, I'm not any good at that kind of stuff. And you know, when I was a little boy, when we were on Okinawa, I'm not even like nursery school. Yeah, it would have been nursery school, probably before kindergarten, so nursery school. And we lived in a neighborhood called Makinado Heights. Back then it was referred to as Machinado Heights, but the more proper pronunciation is Makinado. And later we lived in Makinado Housing. But Makinado Heights, I love Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett. I love those shows. Combat, for those who are old enough to remember that TV show, I love that. And then, you know, Combat, World War II, right? This is World War II, right? My dad had built me a Kentucky flintlock model, plastic model. And he said, now my dad wasn't stupid. He knew what was going to happen, and I didn't get in trouble for it, at least not from him. And he said, don't break this now. And I'm sure I either lost it or broke it, or a combination of the two. And I had a buckskin costume for Halloween one year. It wasn't just for Halloween. I wore it all the time. If I have pictures of me in it to the point that it didn't fit me anymore, and it was worn and tattered. And who knows what happened to it? But I love imagination, fantasy, uh, questions. Like I read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Loved it. And there's over here I have Existentialism for Dummies. I have several books on existentialism. But sitting down and reading them, I can't sit down and do that. It's like I have to be going. I have to be doing something. We don't have internet right now, so I'm finding other things to do. I went and I cleaned out a lot of stuff on my computer. There's so much stuff on my computer that it's still quite full. So yeah, I'm having to always do things, and I can't like stop and like concentrate on anything. So learning disabilities, bipolar disorder, and I want to thank the Weinstein brothers for getting me to this point of actually asking for help, because I want to know everything, and I want to be able to do. I don't want to just imagine things, if you will. I want to do. Like I say, I like history. I like World War II. Growing up on Okinawa, World War II was everywhere. You couldn't escape it. Hey, John. This is John Boy. For those who haven't met him, John, you want to say hi to the world? He's wanting to go outside, and I won't let him out. He does escape, but we don't like to let him out. We have, where we live, we have fox, we have lynx, rabbits, we have eagles, we have hawks, mountain lions, moose, bear. The moose won't try to eat them, but the bear, the fox, the lynx, the hawks, the eagles, they'll try to eat them. Of course, he thinks he's a big tough boy, which he is, but he's not that tough. And a bear would just swallow him whole. But anyway, so I guess I'm started to become redundant here. My question is, what can I do? What can I do? Because I don't know what I can do. If I knew what I could do, I wouldn't be asking the question. I'm sure I'm going to get some responses that are, if I get any responses, because nobody watches my new YouTube channel. I mean, 3, 4 people subscribe to me. But hopefully by titling, if I title this the correct way, it'll get some views, and I'll get some good responses. But if I know I'm going to get responses that if I get enough, I'm going to wind up getting responses that I'm going to wind up getting suggestions for things I've already tried that don't work. I'm going to get responses that may be quite mean and crude and rude, but I just ignore those. So and just because I get a response or I get a suggestion to do something that I've already done, that doesn't mean it's a bad response. It means maybe that worked for you, but it hasn't worked for me. It's just because something works for one person doesn't mean it works for another person. And the Weinstein brothers, they talked about that. I can't, if I remember to, I will link the interview, though it's like a 2 or 3 hour long interview. I had it downloaded, that's why I was able to watch it today. and or yesterday. It's almost 4 in the morning now. But and this is the time of day, of night, that the lynx and the mountain lions and the bears come out. So that's why he's not going out right now. But I don't like him going out during the day because there are cars and trucks. Even though we live in a small town, there's still vehicles that go up and down our street. So I will end this video, and hopefully maybe we can get a dialogue, a discussion going. If I do get a response from someone that is helpful, I will thank you. And I will go ahead and say thank you for watching this rather long video. I appreciate you watching this far in. And have a good morning, a good day, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whatever it may be for you. Goodbye.